in giving up your agency to God, and by saying, I will do thy will. We're giving up the one thing that we have. Mm-hmm. We give it to God. That actually gives us more freedom and makes us more godlike.
Okay, Kirby Heyborne.
Here we are.
Thank you for coming to my studio on this rainy Wednesday afternoon. Okay, so I've known about you for, 20 plus years. You've been kind of this icon in our culture of like in the Latter-day Saint culture of movies. Like there hasn't been many like pop culture movies, right. And you were the star of those when they first came out. And how many movies did you do in like the 2000s? Is that when your career kind of blew up?
Yeah, 2001 we filmed Singles Ward, and then 2002 we filmed the RM, and then 2003 I filmed Saints and Soldiers. Oh yeah, The Best 2 Years, Sons of Provo, and then I moved to Los Angeles and started taking that next step in my career. I think everybody, we are at our closest to God when we're creating. Mm-hmm. And so for me, music is the most special way. You're a musician, so you know when you're composing something, even if it's for a stupid commercial, mm-hmm. or something you don't really believe in, you feel closer to God, I think, when with music. I don't know what it is. I feel like the universe was created with music. I think God had somebody at a drum kit or something, and he's like, yeah, let's throw it down. Because you can tell where he had some fun. There was some good music on, like when he was creating the Tetons. Oh, yeah. It's like, yeah, let's jam out to this and spend some time. And then some sad parts, like Lower Wyoming, where I'm from Evanston, Wyoming, so I can say that it is the armpit of Wyoming. There's no more vulnerable place to be than when you create a song and you share it. Yeah. It doesn't turn vulnerable until you share it. But that's what music was meant to be, is shared. Yeah. And I think that's what God wants. He wants us to create and then share that creation. But there's nothing more vulnerable. So like with the show that I'm on, Making Good on BYU TV, when we were coming up with the concept of it, I said I'd like to add some things to it. And one of the things I want to add, because I'm a musician, I would like to write a song every episode, which is the most vulnerable thing. Yeah. And every time I write that song, I involve God in it. So I go around the country and now the world and find people making a difference. And then I join up with them, and then we laugh together, and then by the end we cry. It's easier, I think, to get someone to laugh than it is to get them to feel connected. But laughing gets them connected.
Why is that?
I feel like any emotion you feel comes from the Spirit. Emotion, connectedness, love, happiness, sadness, all of that, it's like the Force in Star Wars.
Dude, you're taking this to a really deep level. I mean, I talk to a lot of men, and God is sometimes this man that we try to approach, but you're bringing it like it's a web, like it's here.
It is.
Physically. I love this. It definitely resonates with me, and when I'm close to Christ and God, I can visualize this almost.
Yeah.
So you're saying the emotion of laughter or sadness when we're connecting, you're saying that's the Spirit.
That's the Spirit.
That's like God's creation. It's the web of connection that we're experiencing.
That's what we're experiencing.
Wow,
yeah.
I love this.
One that comes to mind is I did one with cowboys. They're men and women who are first responders or in the military who've had thoughts of taking their life after suffering from PTSD, coming home. The things that they've seen, and it's a real thing. Yeah. And so for 8 months, they learn how to handle a horse, and there's the therapy that happens with the horse, and you have to give up so much to connect with the horse. I was there with a man named Kyle, and then the guy that runs the whole thing, his name is Tom. It got to a point where the camera crew couldn't follow anymore because we're up in these hills, and it's rocky, and so it doesn't show in the episode, but I get bucked off the horse because I start panicking. And it was super painful. I was hurt and stuff, and now I'm shaken up, and you can't get on a horse when you're distressed like that. Mm-hmm. The horses just take that energy, and you connect so much when you're on a horse. but we got to get down this hill. We're miles and miles away from anybody. And so the horse can feel that. And so she starts rearing up again. And Kyle had told me that in order to get a horse to stop from getting in that mindset, you got to pull hard on the reins to get it to go in a circle, which goes along with anything, that any creation. When you get in that mindset of depression or sadness or woe is me, you got to get something to pull you out of it. Like, stop thinking about it. So that's what I did, because I yelled down to him, Kyle, she's doing it again. And I'm on this edge of this big, huge, rocky hill, and I think I'm going to break open my head. And the horse is going like this, and then I finally get her to turn around. She calms down, and then Tom, this wise sergeant from the 90s who's now running this, he comes up to me. He finally gallops up and sees what's going on, and he says, Kirby, get off that horse. And he's a man of, like, he has 10 words that he can say a day is it. And the fact that he spent 10 of them on me, I'm already emotional. And with the show, my job is to say, are you okay? Are you all right? And then elicit the emotion that way. And it's never been turned around on me. So Kyle goes off, takes the rest of the cattle, and Tom stands with me. We're in this grove of trees, just the two of us and the two horses. And he says, Kirby, are you all right? And I said, yeah, Tom, I'm great. I'm a little hurt. And then he grabs me by the shoulders and he goes, no, Kirby, are you all right? And he looks at me with his sergeant eyes, and I just break down. I start crying. I go, no, Tom, I'm not all right. Wow. I'm scared. I'm hurt. I don't know how I'm going to get down off this mountain. I can't get back up on this horse. And one of the most beautiful spiritual moments of my life, he grabs my hand, and he's cowboy hands, just tough, calloused hands. He grabs both of my hands and he says, are you a praying man, Kirby? And I said, yeah, Tom, I am. Just sobbing. And then he says since he takes off his hat, holds both my hands, and he says, dear God, this boy's scared. You got to be here with him. And that was it. And I felt that presence of God right then, with this man who had wanted to take his life from the suffering that he had seen, from the things that he had to do as a soldier. And here he is calling on God to bless this stupid, guy that's trying to be funny. And it was so beautiful. And then he got me back up on the horse, and we're walking a few more miles together on the horses. And he kept on checking in with me. I felt like one of his soldiers. And he kept on saying, I feel God right now. I know you do too. He's got us. You're safe. Let's keep going. And he just kept reminding me. And that's what it was. I felt that love from him, which was the Spirit, which was the presence of God. And there's that safety. But that trauma, and I think that's how life is. You have to go through that hard to know that God is there and that he loves you. You have to feel bucked off and alone in order to realize I had the presence of God with me all this time, but you kind of take it for granted. And then it's when you feel alone like that some tough cowboy comes up who you wouldn't even think was a praying man. And I just love the way he said it. Are you a praying man, Kirby?
Oh my gosh.
It was beautiful.
Dude, that is so beautiful. How would you, from that experience alone, explain to someone who's never experienced God? Like, how would you explain the difference of positive thought, like, we can do this, we're tough men, as opposed to the vulnerability and openness you guys received from divine help? How would you explain that to someone?
It's real, but it's so hard to get there. If you were just to say to somebody, that's great that you have these positive thoughts, you can get through it. It's hard and vulnerable to rely on God, to give that up. God blessed us with agency, but it's in giving up our agency back to God that we actually have more agency.
Okay, whoa. Okay, say that again.
In giving up your agency to God, by saying, I will do thy will, we're giving up the one thing that we have. We give it to God. That actually gives us more freedom and makes us more godlike.
Wow. I mean, okay. That's pretty powerful.
It's amazing.
I guess that's.
But that's so vulnerable. The one thing that you have is your agency. To give that up to God, and that's what Jesus taught.
Yeah.
He said, "Not my will, but thy will be done." That's what a lot of prayers for the Catholic Church. It's, "Oh Lord, thy will be done." For a lot of other Christian faiths, it's you say, "Thy will be done." We say it, but when we really do it, that's when vulnerability happens, and that's when you connect. That's when I connected with Tom, is by giving up that sense, giving up that wall, that protective barrier.
Because you were walled up when he first.
Oh yeah, I was walled up because I didn't want to disappoint him too. That was my main thing.
Yeah.
I didn't want him to be disappointed in me. And so yeah, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. And I think that's what we do as men. We don't want, especially other men, especially men that are in a position of not power, but kind of authority. We don't want to let them down. And Tom, when I showed up, he heard there's this reality TV show coming in, and he doesn't want that. He wants to be connected to God, and he wants to be on his ranch with his horses. Which don't we all?
Yeah.
Like, that's the ideal life.
Pretty nice.
But by day 3, that's when I present the song as a gift.
So did you write the song after this experience?
Yeah.
I assume this greatly influenced?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I went to my hotel room, and it was like about an hour long, and I wrote it. And in the show, it's the final thing that happens. I say what I learned in the episode and what everybody's meant to me, and it's not really about riding the horses. It's about the connections. It's whether you're giving quilts to refugees, it's not really about the quilts, and that's the truth with all of this. It's this connection, and this connection to humans and connections to God, that really that's what matters in life the most. So I sing the song, and I think it's one of the best songs I've ever written, and it's kind of country because it needs to be cowboy.
Sure.
And the gist of it is riding horses, and the line is, "You don't have to ride alone." And I think that's what human beings feel, is that this is my cross to bear. This is my burden alone. And you don't have to ride alone. You don't have to be so strong.
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't ride alone. Hearing that connection, I think, through that creative power of God, through music, how all things were created, is my Bible. That's what it says in my Bible. They just broke down because they felt the Spirit. They knew that God loved them, and they realized, I don't have to ride alone. And every song that I write, it has to appeal to the organization, but also it has to be universal. And the way that I find that works the best is I've got to make it about God. And
like, are you on the nose about it, or
no?
Okay. Yeah.
So like in this one, the line is, "You don't have to ride alone. I'll be there beside you." That I took the point of view of Jesus,
Sure.
And people can interpret that or not. It could be, I've got a buddy that's going to be with me. But every song, I have Jesus in it. And I think that's what connects. It's always such an emotional experience for me, for the crew, for the organization, for the people that are receiving the benefits from the organization. They always say, "How did you capture everything that we're about and so specific to us?" When if anybody else were to listen to it, they would say, "Oh, that's a Jesus song," or "Oh, that's a song about best friends," or that's really what it is. And I feel like every time I stress and I feel like I got to do it all alone, and I write out the lyrics, I write down words, I write down key phrases that people have said, and then I'll work with the melody, and then I'll trash all that, and then I'll go through it and transfer some lines that really spoke to me onto the next sheet of paper. And then I get to that point where I say, okay, I'm on the right track. And we've done 52 episodes, and 52 times I've gotten down on my knees and said, "God, these are your children.
Yeah.
And they need to know that you love them and you're aware of them. This is the route that I'm taking. Tell me if this is right or if this is wrong. because I've only got before sunrise, I've got 6 hours. So you got to help me with the melody, and you got to help me with these lyrics. But this is what I'm presenting to you. You make it more. It's the widow's mite. There's a story where Jesus sees, the disciples see this woman put in 2 mites. And Jesus said she put in more than the guy. And the reason why is because she gave all she could, and then God made it more.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe with my music. I'm not the best singer. I'm not the best songwriter. But I do believe 100% that when I involve God and use those creative powers to bless his children, then with that guitar, I'm able to make it more than what it is.
Dude, that's so symbolically beautiful.
It is.
And
it's so amazing.
You don't need to be the best singer or songwriter.
No.
Dude, it's the offering. It is.
It's the offering.
I mean,
you put it out
you
there.
can hear a child with a out of tune like bare their soul through a song,
Yeah.
and like that's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
And you think that I would have learned that? I've done this 52 times. We were just up in Idaho last week filming another episode, and we're camping on the beach, so I was already stressed going into it. How am I going to have alone time in the hotel? I'm going to be with the organization, and these cancer survivors was this organization, taking them down the river, the Salmon River in Idaho, the cancer survivors and their spouses or their significant others. Such a beautiful spiritual experience too. But I had even a more truncated amount of time. We came off the river, and production drove me to the outfitter, the company that they hired, the rafting company. So I'm in there sitting down on the floor, like I've got maybe 20 minutes to write this song. I've been working on it and stuff, and like I had it in my hammock at night. I would kind of sing into my phone and like, here's an idea, and I would sing that, and I thought, okay, great, I got it. My process is I write it out, I take a picture of it, and then I quickly film myself. I show the camera my phone the chord, if I'm capoing it or not, so I can remember it.
Yeah,
because that's it. Because the next time I do the song, it's going to be performing it
and recorded,
and recorded for cameras for millions of people to watch. Yeah, which again was such a bad idea to pitch. It's so stressful.
You really cornered yourself.
So I did all that. It's all done. These women come in, I record it, and I go, okay, great, all right, awesome. And then I think, I didn't offer it to God. I did not involve God at all in this. But it's a great song. It's a good song. It's a good song. I got to go. They're coming. And then so I thought, I can't do that. So I reluctantly knelt down in the back room of this outrigger rafting place. And I said, God, here it is. Don't make me change it. Thank you. Amen. And then I was about ready to get up off of my knees, and I felt so strongly. He said, Kirby, you know better than that. You got to change it. And I said, I can't change it. But it was so funny how I went from, God, this is it. I'm not going to change it. Amen. I did my prayer. There's a stamp. We got it. I involved you. It's done. And I thought, what am I going to do? They're coming. It's going to be 5 minutes before they come pick me up. Yeah. I got to figure out the music. I got to figure out the lyrics. And the feeling, the whispering that I got was, it's too complicated. Take out half of the words. You're trying to say too much. And by doing that, you're not saying anything at all.
Yeah.
So then I just pulled out my pen and angrily started crossing out words, and like almost like you do this to it's like an I told you so, you know? But here I am doing that with God, like, no, see, this whole phrase, I got to change this whole phrase now. If I cross out this one word, rhythmically it doesn't work, melodically it doesn't work. And then I looked at it, and the Spirit told me, you've got 2 songs here, just choose one of them. And then I did that, and then all of a sudden it filled out. The Spirit came so strong, and then I've never had a reaction to a song the way this one was. These are hardened river guides who had nothing to do. There's the organization that hires these river guides. Yeah. The cancer people, they were crying because they were connecting to that spirit of the song, and they knew what I was talking about. But here are these river guides, they were crying too. And I know it's because I involved God. And I just think that's so funny that it went from, here we go, God, there's this, thank you so much, this is it, don't make me change it. That I was bold enough to say that, and dumb enough too to say, don't make me change it, because you know, they're coming.
Yeah. Okay.
So please be happy with it.
It's amazing. There's so many lessons in there. How are you so in tune in being able to receive these, like, I need to cross out these lines. This is very, like, very minuscule. And some people might think, like, this is not important, a line in a song. But you are so in tune that you knew what to cut out to give this offering that God, like, was a part of. How do you get to the point in your life where seemingly unimportant things are known? How are you confident?
You fail a lot.
Okay. Talk to me about that.
I've written some horrible songs, and I've performed songs that I thought were great, and I've failed at it. The more you fail and get picked up by God, it's experience. I started writing music when I was 15.
Okay.
And horrible, dumb pop songs about girls, you know. And then here I am, 46, 47. So this is 30 years that I've been doing this. You learn how to do it. You learn how to fail. You work at it, and you exercise that muscle. I think it's the same thing with life. You get good at being able to communicate with people, listen to people, be in tune with the Spirit, because you do it every day. And I think if I were to take a vacation from writing music, I would lose that muscle. It's just exercise.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with, I think, connectivity with the Spirit. If you spend, maybe you can go a day without doing some push-ups and you'll be okay, or even a week. But you start to see a difference after a week in your ability to endure, your endurance. It's the same thing with the Spirit. If you spend a week away from God, and sometimes you can't have scriptures there with you, so I can't read that, I can't be in the Word of God, but you can always be thankful and acknowledge God in a tree or in a friendship or in a feeling you have. And I've learned how to notice that, and I either vocalize it,
That's cool.
or I internally vocalize it and say, I feel this, God, and I'm thankful for it. So that's me exercising with God every day. I've said, like, have you broken a spiritual sweat today?
Oh, what a cool parallel to think about. Yeah, that's really a cool.
You're so nice.
So we understand there's a long road ahead, and it takes practice and discipline and spiritual sweating. I love that.
Yeah.
What is something today? What is something that can part the clouds for someone who feels darkness, who feels, they have some things to clean up, and they're just kind of in a holding pattern? Because a lot of us are in holding patterns. We get comfortable and we're not pushing ourselves, and we're kind of sitting there.
For sure.
What is something that you would recommend to maybe your younger self or someone who's suffering like that?
You've got to take moments of quiet. And in those moments of quiet, even if it's a minute, you have to just be thankful. I started a long time ago. If I see a tree that I love, I touch it. Like if I'm on a hike or something and I see a tree and I say, I appreciate that tree. That connects me to God. And maybe I'm stupid and that's a dumb thing that I'm personifying this tree, but on every hike, every walk, anytime I'm outside, I find something that I'm grateful. Thank you for sharing your beauty with me. And that immediately connects me to God. I feel like God is waiting for us to acknowledge him. Like he's like your kid in the morning waiting for you to wake up. That's sometimes how I picture him.
Put down your phone.
Look
exactly.
Look at me. Look at me. I'm right here. Just look at me. And the minute you give even a minute amount of attention to God, he pours out his blessings upon you. That's what it says in Malachi. He says, prove me now herewith. And I love that. God's saying, kind of test me.
Yeah.
See if I'm really going to give you these blessings. And sometimes we mistake blessings as monetary, like, oh, I'm going to get all this money now. What it is God opens your eyes to see the tree that you can be thankful for, to feel that you're loved and that he thinks about you.
That's so fascinating because, I have in my time prayed, I'd love to be rich or whatever, and those prayers.
Ooh, yeah, right.
But I've noticed as I've become more spiritual this last year that I'm so much more content, and my prayers are not, like I had an earlier conversation with a childhood friend, and he talked about treating God like a vending machine and how we do that. I
Yes.
want this, I want this. And the more mature prayer, as you practice gratitude and as you see the beauty and the blessings that are already around us. I mean, they are surrounding us. I mean, we're so blessed. My prayers have been more like, and this is really special to me, my prayers have been like, help me to just accept all that you might teach me today. Help me to just be cool with this. Help me to see my kids how you see my kids. And it's not like, it's just so different from my past prayers. And it's just like, help me to accept your will and to soften my heart. And
And how do you feel when you come up from your knees?
I mean, I just feel so much better. I'm content. I legit, like, I always wanted like a bigger house. I'm like, I have so much. I have too much.
Yeah.
My eyes, I feel like just scales have fallen off my eyes where I just see everything's already beautiful.
Isn't that amazing?
It's already pretty.
So
it's already beautiful.
that is God's word coming to life in your life.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I'll pour out blessings upon you. He didn't give you more money, but he opened up, pulled the scales off your eyes so that you actually do have more now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's our capacity. It's those blinders that he takes off when you express gratitude that it does. Those blessings come when you've already had them. We're Dorothy. We've always been able to go home, just click our heels.
Yeah.
But we have to go on this journey in order to realize we can get back home.
Yeah, we have to, the trials have to come. And I was reading in Romans today, and it's like Paul is saying, we embrace trials because trials build endurance.
Yes.
And endurance builds character, and character builds hope. And we have hope because we have God, and he has given us his spirit. And I'm like, yeah, that is it. Like, we don't need to run from the trials. I mean, the character that the person that we're being shaped into, our divine potential, is so much more important than all the things that we think we want, our old selves, So,
doesn't that make you look at your wife differently too?
Yeah. Okay. Yes. What's your thought? Follow that.
In that, she's your companion throughout this life.
Yeah.
And in the life to come.
Yeah.
You treat something that you want to last forever differently.
That's okay. Yes, absolutely.
And so by being grateful and content, then you look at your wife and you're more appreciative.
Yeah.
For the fact that she's with this wacko.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's that.
I don't deserve her.
But exactly. But also, you do deserve her too. It's just like you said, you pray, let me be content. And then all of a sudden, oh my goodness, I have way too much. Mm-hmm. When you pray about your wife that way, the scales come off and it's, I've got way too much. She's amazing. Mm-hmm. How can I cherish this and treat it and rub those feet,
Yeah. Yeah. Lower back in our case.
Is it?
Lower back, yeah. I think we've ran the gamut, man.
I went all over the place, man. I'm sorry.
And I there's so many beautiful takeaways that I've gotten, and it's an honor to meet you. And thank you, man. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for what you're doing. I think it's so important that people, especially men, it's cool to love God. It's cool to be vulnerable with him. It's cool to love your wife, and to love your kids. And I think the connections that we can make with each other, especially, you don't have to ride alone, You shouldn't.
Right. Yeah, we shouldn't. We're not meant to be alone, right? I think that's not serving anyone. In fact, that's where the bad stuff happens, is in isolation. So,
it is.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Thank you for doing this, man.
I appreciate that. That's the whole point, is for men to feel less alone in their struggles and to showcase good people living their lives with the divine. So, mission accomplished today.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks, brother. I hope you enjoyed this episode. More importantly, I hope you feel closer to your Creator. If you find yourself wanting to strengthen your relationship with God, I'm a huge fan of the Skylight app. It's full of beautiful, high-quality daily spiritual practices. Finally, never forget, in all things, God works for the good of those who love him.